People believed speed won every race, but on this morning, patience won the only race that mattered. One slow breath turned a late, messy start into a clear, steady finish. This was how starting slow helped Ethan win more. The city was loud with horns and voices, and buses splashed through shallow puddles while Ethan stood at the bus stop and tried to take a slow, steady breath because today was his exam day and he did not want to be late. The bus arrived later than he expected, and the cold wind pushed at his hoodie as he checked the time again and again, which made his chest feel tight and his thoughts run faster. When the crowded bus finally came, he squeezed inside, held the hanging strap, and looked through the window, where quick reflections of busy faces slid across the glass, and although he tried to review his notes in his head, the ideas slipped away like water from his hands. He got off 2 stops early and ran through the market street to save time, and he bought a small paper cup of tea to warm his fingers. But when he tried to jog and drink at the same moment, the cup tipped and tea spilled on his sleeve and across a few pages of his notes, which fell to the ground before he could catch them. He bent to pick up the papers, and as he hurried to gather them, the ink on the page began to blur, which made him feel even more stressed, as if the whole morning was sliding away from him. At the school gate, a guard checked ID cards while students showed their cards and walked through without trouble. But when Ethan reached into one pocket, he found nothing. And when he checked the other pocket and then the side pocket of his backpack, he still could not feel the card. So his face grew hot and his hands began to shake. The noise around him seemed bigger than before, and he searched faster and rougher, which only made everything worse because the faster he moved, the less he noticed. In that busy moment, he closed his eyes for one small second, not to give up, but to make space inside his head. And he remembered his grandmother's calm voice that had told him many times that he should breathe first and then think, which sounded simple but always worked when he actually did it. He breathed in slowly through his nose and then out slowly through his mouth. And by the second breath, he felt a little clearer. So he checked again, but this time he moved with care and order, starting with the front pocket, then the back pocket, and then the main part of the backpack. Finally, he opened his notebook, and there inside the front cover, pressed flat like a bookmark, was the ID card he thought he had lost, which made him almost laugh at himself because the card had been safe the whole time. The guard waved him in, and although Ethan knew time was short, he chose to walk at a steady pace instead of running, because running had already created more problems than it solved. The hallway clock showed 10 minutes left, which was not a lot, but was enough to do the next right thing. So he went to his desk, placed the card on the corner, set the wet pages aside to dry, and made a simple plan in his head that he could remember without looking anywhere. He told himself that when the exam started, he would answer the easy questions first so he could build confidence. Then he would mark the hard ones and come back later, and between each task, he would take one calm breath to reset his mind, which sounded small but felt strong. When the papers were handed out, his thoughts tried to rush again out of habit, yet he kept to the plan and read the first question slowly, and when he saw that he knew the answer, he wrote it down clearly, which helped him feel steady. He moved through the questions he understood and did not get stuck on the ones that looked difficult at first, because he knew he would return to them, and this kept his mind open instead of closed. When he checked the clock, he did not feel fear. He felt informed, and that small difference helped him choose his next step without panic. He turned back to the marked questions and gave them patient attention, and one of them opened after he drew a small diagram to organize the ideas, while another became clear after he wrote the units first, and then placed the numbers where they belonged. For the hardest problem, he wrote the steps he truly understood and did not guess wildly, because honest work felt better than pretending, and that choice kept him calm and focused. The room, which had felt noisy and tight at the beginning, now felt quiet and bright, as if there was enough space for his thoughts, and his hands moved in a steady way that matched the plan he had made. He finished with 2 minutes left, checked his name and roll number, counted the pages to make sure nothing was missing, and then capped his pen while letting out a long breath that he had held without noticing. Outside the hall, some students talked quickly and tried to compare every answer, while others worried out loud or celebrated. But Ethan stood under a tree for a moment and listened to the soft sound of the leaves, which reminded him that the wind kept moving whether he fought it or not. He thought about the late bus, the spilled tea, and the missing card. And he saw how panic had turned small problems into big ones. But he also noticed how one slow breath, one clear plan, and one steady step had changed the whole direction of his morning. When he got home that evening, he placed the ID card in a safe pocket in his wallet so he would not lose it again. And he taped a small note near his desk lamp where he could see it every day. Then he wrote one full sentence that held his plan in simple words. He would start with the easy questions, mark the hard ones, and take a calm breath between tasks. He did not promise himself a perfect week or a perfect life, because those promises often broke, but he promised something smaller and stronger. When the next busy moment arrived, he would breathe first and then choose the next clear step. Calm had not added extra minutes to the clock, but it had returned his mind to him, and that was enough to change the result of his day. Thank you for listening to Tail Beacon English. If this story helped you, write one sentence about a small thing you will do calmly today, because starting slow still helped you win more.